Good morning, everyone. My name is Mickael Marceau. I'm the group head of payment at Kindred Group. And today I'm not gonna talk about payment solution, but I am so happy to moderate this breakout session with my Kindred dream team here, who everyone will soon introduce themselves. So it's morning here, as it's a pre-recording session. But it's 12:45 in Central Europe, and although it's pre-recorded, we are still here and we'll be able to answer your message. So don't hesitate to ask a question, and please fire away, and one of us will answer your question. So we shall start with this round table, and we shall start with Mette here. Hi, Mette. Good afternoon.
Hello.
Good morning.
Hello. Yeah, my name is Mette Lorenzen, and I'm the global head of our customer service department at Kindred, which is quite a big team. I think we have around 300 employees. I'm personally based in Malta, but our team is based across locations. And yeah, I think that's me. Over to Usha.
Good morning. My name is Usha Ganesan. I am the group head of financial control. I am based in London in our Wimbledon office. And what I do on a day-to-day basis is manage the local teams, the local finance teams in their day-to-day activities with regards to month close and statutory accounts. And off to Olga.
Thanks, Usha. Good morning, everybody. My name is Olga Hupanan. I lead on leadership development in Kindred. So it means helping the business both in recognizing what leadership is and what leadership capabilities are relevant for us as an organization, and also building those capabilities up, both through the program that we've designed, but also through one-to-one coaching. I'm based in London. That's me. And over to Charlotta.
Hi, Charlotta is my name, and I'm head of player verification. Work very much with product-related verification and verification providers. Yeah, I've been at Kindred for a 2 years now. Not as long as everyone else here on this call, I think, but still going strong. Yeah, really happy.
Very good. Thank you so much. And now probably the audience is realizing why I mentioned the dream team. Looking at you and looking at what you're doing, I think I couldn't have hoped for a better panel today. So Women in Tech this year is around the power of resilience, which is extremely relevant to I think what we went through over the past few months. And we discussed before this panel and over the past few months with Olga here around the power of resilience. And psychologists define resilience as looking at positive outcome despite the high risk status. They describe it as competence in the face of stress, adapting to trauma, using challenges for growth in order to make future hardship more manageable. And I believe this is definitely super relevant. But my first question is, what does that mean for you, being resilient? Past few days, past few weeks, past few months, and maybe we should start with Mette again here.
Yeah, I think for me, being resilient really means, like, very simple, that the glass is always half full, as I see the world. So that's what I apply in my private life, daily life, and at work. And I think, yeah, the last months, weeks, that could be anything. Like, I'm a big foodie and I love food, but if restaurants close, how do I manage that? And I learned to make beef Wellington quite to perfection during that time. But yeah,
okay.
Then
are you planning any beef Wellington this week? Because I'm a big fan of beef Wellington. So
I've made too many, so now probably
okay.
change to vegetarian.
Okay, Usha?
Yes, for me, resilience is accepting the situation. I think the last days, months, and the last year, if I can say, has been quite challenging. Being a mother of two during the lockdown, and like everybody else, it's been quite challenging to manage family and work. It's embracing the change. It's having a positive outlook on what needs to be done in order to be successful, and it's not giving up.
Nice. Olga?
For me, resilience is more about balance, recognizing that we are all going through such tough period of time. So being really busy at work, doing loads of other things, it's recognizing when the pressure is really high and taking time off. And you can't plan it. It's more about practicing self-compassion and noticing whatever is happening within you.
Which is, you know, when we spoke about resilience over the past few months, during the course that you handled, one of the things about resilience was also the contact with others, but which is something kind of that we lost. I mean, obviously we have our family, our partner, etc. So that's one thing. But it's when I watched again the video that you had shared, it's quite challenging, right?
Definitely. It is about finding ways to maintain that social interaction that we're all lacking at the moment. And technology helps a lot, but finding time also in connecting to people and being more proactive has been really important personally for me. I've spent a lot of time on Zoom, on both professionally and personally over the last year. It shows.
Me too, and funnily enough, I reconnected with some people that I lost connection with, before the whole period. So anyway, very late, late Zoom parties, I would say. But Charlotta, what does that mean for you?
Zoom parties. Well, that's work, I would say. Happens every day. Resilience for me, it kind of means. I would say it means a lot in the world of product development, because it's all about iterating in my head, and always finding a way forward. Whenever someone closes the door, there's a window open, right?
Yeah. Okay. Great. I mean, one of the points that you mentioned was this social interaction, and I think it's a very good transition to our first topic around engagement with our employee. We have Mette here handling approximately 20% of our workforce. So how Mette, over the past few months, did you manage to shift from office engagement, to an online engagement?
Yeah, I think obviously a lot of the things that were just said here in the intro has kind of been the fundamental to achieve that. And although I started off saying, glass is half full, and then I just make beef Wellington instead of going to a restaurant. Obviously, I have also found this period the last year has been super challenging with the global situation and the pandemic, and for a big team like ours, customer service. That was quite challenging, because not only, to drive engagement for yourself, that's one thing, but be able to translate that and embed that in a big department of 300 people through many layers. Usually in the office environment, you can interact with people and that's usually comes easier. But yeah, I think first, we have actually already prepared ourselves for any unpredictable situation to happen, and how we could drive engagement without knowing it. And in a department like customer service, that comes almost natural, because we have a plan, we have a strategy, like every other areas of the business. But at the same time, we also need to be perfectionists and experts in firefighting, because we are live, we are the ones interacting with the customer, so there's always something that we might not have predicted or see coming. And how do we prepare ourselves for that? But yeah, to kind of go back to the initial question, like how did we keep our people engaged? Well, it really came down to first logistically make it happen, like that we have the tools, the setup, which, like I said, we actually had prepared for that, had laptops already, we had changed the systems and the tools to cloud-based. So, we never knew that we had to apply it in a pandemic situation, for example. but that turned out to be quite handy. And then it was just to start fixing all, like adapt all the fundamentals that we know usually drive engagement. How do we translate that online? And that might mean, you know, like say we had career path progression kind of development programs. Quickly, that was the first priority. Let's translate that to have online courses instead of meeting in the classroom. Like, so all those basics that usually is quite key, that we knew was the first priority. Something like recruitment was also like, because if suddenly a team is understaffed and under pressure, it will be hard to drive engagement. So you need to fix that fundamentals. And then on top of that, we just now we live on Teams, and we have camera on every meeting. Team outings have, you know, where you used to go to a restaurant, you might have a cooking class and make beef Wellington together with a camera. So yeah, I think
don't tempt me too much on that beef Wellington. You know, now but one thing that you said, which is extremely relevant, is this camera thing. I realized that now there is not one meeting, you know, without, you know, the camera on, etc. While before it was, you know, conference, it was about call, you know, but now it's about video call, and I think that's it's super positive. Super positive.
No, exactly. And
thank you. Sorry, but
go on,
of course.
I think, you know, especially in our team, we also have a lot of movements, you know, internal attrition and etc. So we need to recruit a lot. But for an example, last year when the pandemic hit, nobody could travel and, you know, for interviews or even move country to take a new position. But yeah, so like by replacing with video calls, etc., we have hired some of the best talent we probably ever have. Just changing the approach. But
yeah. Well, changing the approach, I think that's something that Usha and her team had to, you know, I mean, being responsible or working with financial planning and forecasting. A year ago, it was a massive U-turn into any type of businesses, you know, and we had to shift focus, forecast, change the reality. Without knowing what the future would be. So one question for Usha is, you know, how did we do that?
Yes, so thank you. So you did mention the shift in the focus, and I think that's key in the ways that we had to work in 2020. Obviously, it was a very challenging year for Kindred, but nonetheless, with all the uncertainties that we lived through, it ended up as being a very successful year for Kindred. If we backtrack to March 2020, almost a year ago, when live sport was cancelled until further notice, we all entered into a gray zone, and there was a big question mark around what the future was going to bring. None of us had a magic crystal ball that allowed us to look into the future. But we knew at a point in time that the gambling industry was just one of the global business markets that could be severely affected by the crisis. And so we had to react quickly in order to be ahead of the game. So what did we do from a finance perspective within the finance function to focus on these during these uncertain times? So 5 things that I'd like to mention. First of all, we brought the troops together. Really, really important to drive change, to have everybody working as a team. So we brought the troops together from within all the areas of the business, and we identified the risks that the crisis was presenting to us. So getting input and consensus from various stakeholders was key in order to make the right decisions that allowed us for a larger margin of error, and obviously the greatest chance of success. Secondly, we reduced our cycle time. We moved to weekly forecasting in order to take the input from what was happening externally and making sure that we had the latest forecast. We performed scenario modeling to make sure that we were covered from all ends. This refers to forecasting several possibilities or eventual possibilities, depending on the changes to the variables. As an example, we had different scenarios modeled depending on the duration of the lockdown and the possibility of future lockdown. We ran and we reran our models and analyzed the consequences of the restrictions on live sport, which was our main concern. We managed outgoings closely, and we avoided making long-term commitments. And lastly, we established a very strong open communication with our suppliers. And we were thankfully able to defer some expenditures in some areas while still remaining within our terms and conditions with those suppliers. So all these ways of working, starting really from getting the troops together and communicating on an almost daily basis, was key to success. So 2020 was a memorable year, and regardless of the uncertainty that we experienced on a daily basis, our new ways of working, the resilience of our people, and the team effort we saw were all key contributors to our success.
That's very very good answer, Usha. Thank you so much. I mean, it's from what I'm hearing also, there are quite a lot of things that, you know, even after, if everything goes back to normal, there are quite a few things that we will keep doing, you know. I mean, the video, for instance, conference and interview, you know, so this should not be a blocker for hiring talent, as Mette was saying. You mentioned a couple of stuff around, you know, weekly forecasting, us being agile. I think us being agile, obviously, in the forecasting and planning, that's something we'll keep. It's interesting. I think we will all learn from that situation. So yeah, I like that. Very cool. So moving to Olga in a different part of the business. I mean, we had this amazing program over the past 12 months around intra, inter, and cognitive skills, which was called a leadership program at Kindred, and obviously things had to be shifted around. And Olga is a very famous designer of that program internally. So maybe we should start with the online approach that was chosen for that program, and maybe you should tell us more about that, Olga, please.
Of course. So the focus of the program was to deliver the content and interaction in a more kind of bite-sized or snackable version, thinking about time-hungry leaders that we have. So actually using online approach worked quite well. The core program was meant to be delivered face-to-face, but then having obviously not had the opportunity to bring people together, we've just broken it down to smaller chunks and delivered everything virtually.
Okay, and I mean, that's maybe more a question for the people that attended the program. So we have Mette and Usha here. How did you feel about this the online program and how it was designed?
Well, for my end, I think it was great, and actually almost perfect timing, you know. Yeah, in the beginning the expectations were that we would meet and it was in nice fancy locations, but you know, then suddenly we were hit with this unexpected scenario and situation. So actually to then have this leadership program also in that setting, you kind of learned as part of that. So for me it was brilliant and actually perfect timing, and you realize that, I mean, you can have human interaction like through the screen as well. So I think probably might have been better.
I completely agree with Mette. I mean, it was a fantastic opportunity that was presented, and I think nobody knew that it's something we could have done online and build that rapport and that relationship with the other leaders within the organization. But for me, it was a great networking internally opportunity, and getting to know others, and also getting this comfort that others are going through the same challenges as us, but through a screen. It's quite amazing that, you know, we still remain in touch on a weekly basis with some of these people that we did the leadership program, because we're all helping each other. So yeah, well done to Olga for making this happen and successful.
But I think one of the things that you mentioned also is this social interaction that we or social networking that we managed to keep or to create also to a certain extent. And I know that part of the program was very much around the peer coaching. And we loved it. I mean, we loved it. To a smaller group, etc. And a question to Olga. So why we loved it? but why did we love it, you think?
So the approach, the whole methodology for the program was very different from the traditional leadership development programs. I've used adult development framework overall and vertical development. So the kind of one of the key contributing factors is to create those almost like learning ecosystems of peer-to-peer learning, and peer coaching groups have just addressed that challenge, bringing human connections, supporting each other as a collective, as a small community, building social network, professional collaboration, and just supporting, being there for each other quite regularly as well. So I think probably that was the element that resonated with most people. They were not facilitated as such, so just bringing them, bringing each individual, supporting kind of each challenge that was brought into the session, rather than having a structured, facilitated content, I think was also making the difference.
Definitely. I mean, I heard the term, the adjective, amazing, great. Program was fun, interacting. So how did you measure success, Olga?
So there's definitely a number of elements to measurement of success. So there are short-term and longer-term impacts, right? With shorter-term impacts, we were looking at assessing kind of self-evaluation of individual leaders who were going through the program. So looking into their reflection on their resilience, connections that they've built throughout the course, but also looking into the impact for their wider teams. So retention of their team members, career development of their individual team members, and also we're looking at the overall engagement scores that are measured with Great Places to Work.
Super. Thank you so much, Olga, for the detail, and thank you for delivering also that very useful training.
Thank you.
Moving on to Charlotta. I mean, we need to speak about what's very important also at Kindred, which is customer experience and player verification as part of the online gambling industry. This is definitely key, and often there is an amalgam between player verification and friction point. I must say that I always believe that we can enhance customer experience, but also verifying our player. But that's me as a global head of payment, And I think, Charlotta, I would like to pick obviously your brain and for you to expand a bit more on the fact that it doesn't have to be a friction point. I mean, am I correct or am I wrong?
No, you're definitely correct. And I mean, we do work a lot with payments to make sure that we get correct data as well. But yeah, I would say that there's two ways of seeing it. When we face the customer with the question of, hey, would you like to send in your ID or provide documents that might be a bit sensitive to the customers? There's two different ways of seeing it. So either we can see it as we're creating a hurdle and we would like to remove it. So we don't want to ask them questions that we think might be too sensitive. But then there's also another way of seeing it, actually about building trust within our customers for them to trust us. And I would say a part of that is having, these great verification solutions. So you can use Bank ID. You can use It's Me in Belgium. We have various EIDs throughout, and also having a good system where you can securely upload your documents, because you don't want to give your passport to anyone. You want to make sure that it's a trusted source, it's secure and encrypted. So I think that's kind of also building trust in our brand and making sure that the customer understands that we're kind of like a bank when it comes to regulations and the restrictions that we need to adhere to. So yeah.
And the good thing, and I think we shifted a couple of years ago towards that mentality, is that we do not ask for all those documents when the customer needs to withdraw his funds, etc. We try to be as proactive as we can own registration, as you mentioned, with, for instance, bank ID in Sweden or name ID in Denmark, or some other e-verification process. But we try to smoothen, the verification journey. Is that correct?
Yeah, that's definitely correct. And we have a lot of measurements in place. We have our own customer experience department at Kindred, so we do measure everything that we do. Also working really closely with Mette and the customer support agents to make sure that we get their feedback whenever we release something. Was it good? Is it working? Are we phrasing ourselves in the correct way? Or did we do something stupid and now Mette gets a lot of work to do? So it's kind of about, making sure that we always listen to our customers and that we iterate our product towards what they want and what they find what works well.
And if I can just jump in on that, because now and you're spot on, Charlotta, like trust is key for us to build with our customers, and kind of what I alluded to in the beginning around like why is it so important to drive engagement with our team, for example, which are customer facing, is because we see it a bit before we can build that trust and support that to the customers. We need to do the same with our employees. And so, for example, when the pandemic hit, like our priority was we want people to work from home, so employees are safe and safety comes first. We didn't want to compromise the customer experience, but actually how we then managed that, because in the beginning, logistics, we didn't have enough screens and we didn't have laptop chargers, like basics, but basically that would maybe mean customers would need to wait longer before we can serve them. So we actually were super transparent, and we put on our help center to the customer, we also in the pandemic, from person to person, bear with us that we might respond later, but we still, want to do exactly the same like we've always done. But that links directly to what Charlotta just talked about, that to build that trust, because one thing is what we do for the customers in the background, but that needs to go all the way and basically bring our values to life at Kindred.
I think that's
amen to that. Yeah.
It's a really good point. I mean, that also brings on to a lot of what we're doing in player sustainability vertical as a whole. I mean, we really care about our customers, and we build systems to basically be able to monitor and help our customers to, make sure that basically kind of like this friendly bartender, making sure that you don't have that drink that's maybe the last drink. You should never have the last drink, right? So making sure that if something is happening, we're actually there, we're actually supporting our customers, and we're actually helping them make the best decisions for themselves.
That's so good, that's so good. Thank you so much, ladies. And as I said, I think yesterday when we chatted about, how the session will be, I told you we only did one take, and for the audience here that are listening to us, it is a pre-recording session, but it's one take. We didn't just say, oh, let's do it again. Oh, let's do it again. So that's how we roll at Kindred also. And I'm so proud that you all gave me the opportunity to moderate the session today. So thank you, Charlotta, Mette, Usha, and Olga for your time. I just want to mention something, that if you want to chat with us, you can visit our stand in the mess hall at 2:15 CET. There will be meet and greet with our HR and talent acquisition team. Thank you, everyone. Have a lovely day, and I hope to see you soon. Bye-bye.